Bore da. Good morning, everyone. I assume a lot of speakers today will be reflecting on how the world is a very different place from March, the original date for this conference, and that's something all of us will be thinking about a lot in these unprecedented times. In common with cities around the world, COVID-19 has had a major impact on people's lives and public services in Cardiff. We're proud that the response in our city has been characterised by an unprecedented level of partnership working, and this one city approach will remain important as we all continue to respond to the challenges of this pandemic. Cardiff Council has been using procurement in new and innovative ways for a decade, using the power of the public purse to deliver social and environmental progress. We spend over £430 million each year procuring a huge range of goods, services and works, and we want to make sure that the significant spending power continues to contribute to the economic, social, cultural and environmental well-being of our city. Because whilst Cardiff is widely recognised as a great place to live, work and play, with a growing economy, we still face some serious long-term challenges. In 2018, Wales was the only UK nation where child poverty was rising, and Cardiff has 7 out of the top 10 electoral wards in Wales with the highest levels of child poverty. A third of Cardiff households are living in poverty. 1 in 5 jobs in Cardiff, around 42,000, pay below the real living wage. In-work poverty is a growing issue. The impact of COVID-19 is widely anticipated to exacerbate the situation, and we are under no illusions about the scale of this challenge. Employment in the UK fell by the largest amount in over a decade between April and June 2020, and the claimant count unemployment has doubled. We've had over 30,000 people in Cardiff on the UK government's furlough scheme, and with great economic uncertainty ahead, the numbers of people out of work are expected to rise significantly. And that's why it's never been more vital to mobilise our procurement resources to tackle inequality and create opportunities. Over the past decade of austerity, the Council has strengthened the capacity of our procurement resources through the creation of a corporate commissioning and procurement team. The team has implemented a category management approach across all of the Council's third-party spend, including the traditionally hard-to-reach areas such as social care. Not only does this approach save the Council money, but it also allows us to find new and better ways of spending which benefit the city and our residents. And I'm proud to say that our team has won awards at both the Welsh and UK level. We've also established a local authority trading company at Tebian Solutions to deliver procurement services from the public sector for the public sector, a great example of an entrepreneurial approach within local government to the benefit of the wider public sector. And we formed a close partnership with Cardiff and Vale Credit Union to promote their employer payroll saving and loan schemes as a way of changing behaviours and providing access to affordable, low-value loans. This works by savings being deducted at source at a rate chosen by the employee, creating a savings habit and a nest egg ready for that rainy day when a washing machine stops working, a roof leaks or the car breaks down. Cardiff and Vale Credit Union has nearly 50 employer partners who work with them to provide this savings and loan scheme to their employees. These include public, private and third sector organisations like Admiral Insurance, Legal and General, Knox and Wells, Cardiff and the Vale Health Board and the Vale of Glamorgan Council, and the Wales Council for Voluntary Action and Innovate Trust. Our partnership with the credit union has been recognised nationally as an example of UK good practice for its cooperation in tackling issues of financial exclusion and indebtedness. I believe that an important role of any government is to intervene when the market is behaving in a way that is damaging to society. It's recently been reported that Cardiff is one of the top 10 hotspots in Britain for high-cost payday loan use, with research showing that 1 in 5 people in Wales don't have any savings. Payday lenders' interest rates can be eye-watering and lead to a spiral of debt where loans are rolled over and never fully repaid. Payroll schemes help combat this and are specifically supported in the Welsh Government's financial inclusion strategy for Wales. In my view, these are clearly positive schemes to support. It makes business sense whatever sector you're working in, and it's the right thing to do. Payroll schemes demonstrate genuine corporate responsibility to staff and to customers. On a broader level, socially responsible procurement and the real living wage are 2 of the biggest levers we can pull to use our size and our spend to help create a stronger, fairer and greener city. We've set out our values and our principles in our socially responsible procurement policy. We want to create thriving local communities where people have the skills to take on jobs that pay at least the real living wage, where all local businesses compete on a level playing field, and where the environment comes before short-sighted financial considerations. because we think it's worth spending more in the short term to deliver the best long-term outcomes for the people, communities and natural environment of Cardiff. And in the long run, we will end up spending much less by putting in place preventative and future-orientated contracts now. Around 75% of our £430 million annual spend goes to Welsh organisations, with 2/3 spent within the wider Cardiff capital region. Just over £57 million worth of contracts goes to the third sector, with over half of this amount awarded to Cardiff-based organisations, primarily in adult social care. Furthermore, over 50% is spent with SMEs, of which around £85 million is with Cardiff-based firms. Clearly, cost and quality are key factors in the procurement decisions we make, but they are by no means the only ones. We also prioritise working with organisations that share our values and principles and that will help us deliver on our commitments. In Capital Ambition, the Council's policy programme, we are clear that a strong economy is about much more than simply creating jobs and attracting investment. We need to be much smarter about how we use the power of the public purse to tackle poverty and provide opportunities to people, particularly young people, who live in our more disadvantaged and disconnected communities. It's a scandal that many of the poorest communities in Wales are less than a stone's throw from the centre of Cardiff, and that's why inclusive growth is at the heart of everything we do. So we'll be looking to work with organisations that not only deliver the core elements of the contract, but that also deliver community benefits and demonstrate fair working practices, such as paying all of their staff the real living wage and taking proactive steps to make sure there is no modern slavery in their organisation or their supply chain. The Council have been at the forefront of working with our partners across Wales to develop a social value or community benefit measurement framework for Wales aligned to the future generations' wellbeing goals, essentially a Welsh TOMS equivalent, and this work should be finalised shortly. The framework will place a proxy financial value on all community benefit measures and will be included in all council tenders over £150,000. The social value element will account for at least 10% of the tender score. This approach will also enable us to clearly demonstrate how we're meeting our duties under the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. We'll be using the Social Value Portal as our social value procurement and measurement partner to help us improve our reporting and ensure that our contractors deliver on their commitments. The leader of the council has often said, and it's the same for me, that one of his proudest moments as a councillor was back in 2012, when we took the decision to pay our entire workforce the real living wage as a minimum. We were the first council in Wales to do this. Our decision resulted in over 2,000 members of our workforce receiving a pay rise, and that was despite the significant budgetary challenges we faced as a result of austerity. We then became an accredited real living wage employer in 2015. We continue to deepen that work. The leader and I sit on Cardiff's multi-agency Living Wage City Steering Group. This group was established in 2018 to develop an ambitious plan for Cardiff to be recognised as a living wage city. Because we believe that a fair day's work deserves a fair day's pay, and that paying the real living wage is a key indicator of fair working practices. And I'm very proud to say that in November last year, Cardiff became only the second UK city to earn living wage status after Dundee, and the first capital city to do so. This achievement was the result of strong partnership working between public, private and third sectors in Cardiff, including key local organisations such as Cardiff University, Capital Law, the Cardiff Third Sector Council and Admiral Insurance. We now have around 36,000 people working for over 110 accredited living wage employers, and we're aiming for 48,000 people and 150 employers by 2022. I've heard firsthand many stories that reflect the real difference that a living wage pay rise has made to the lives of Cardiff residents, particularly younger people. Since 2011, over £32 million in extra wages has gone into workers' pockets in Wales, directly benefiting nearly 7,000 Welsh workers across the 222 accredited living wage employers in the country. That's why we're encouraging our contractors and our partners to pay the real living wage. To support this, we've established a living wage accreditation support scheme which pays Cardiff-based SMEs their accreditation fees for 3 years. But we want to do more. We want to pay the real living wage on our adult social care contracts and work with the Welsh Government and others to find a solution that can work right across the country. As a progressive council, we've been at the forefront of implementing this agenda, and we will accelerate our efforts, in encouraging and supporting major employers, anchor institutions and small businesses to become accredited living wage employers. It's great to see that more and more of Cardiff businesses share this philosophy, and we're very grateful for their support in making Cardiff a living wage city. Wherever you are based, if your organisation is not already an accredited living wage employer, I'd really encourage you to look at the difference it can make to your business and your business's reputation. We know that the community benefits, the real living wage and the fair work agendas will become increasingly important to all organisations who want to work with Cardiff Council and the Welsh public sector more widely. So I'd encourage you to do everything you can to support this important movement. If the COVID-19 crisis has made any one thing clear, it is that those who are often paid the least deliver the greatest benefit to society. We in Cardiff aim to do something about this, and I hope you'll join us. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you.